So today we're going to discuss the school site budget process. This lecture is going to focus on how do we budget for our school sites and where does the funding come from? So what's a little bit of the background? The state created the Single Plan for Student Achievement, the SPSA, for schools who participate in state and federal programs. The purpose of the SPSA is to coordinate all educational services at the school site. The SPSA will address how funds provided to the school through any sources will be used to improve the academic performance of all students. And the SPSA must integrate the purposes and requirements of all state and federal programs in which the school participates. So you can see how important the SPSA is to a school site because it really directs how the funding will occur for each program in our school sites. Now, who's involved in the school budget? So, of course, the administrator is highly involved. They are the ones who guide the work of the school budget. But California Education Code does specify that the composition of the school site council, the SSC, also needs to be involved. And at the elementary level, one half of the school site council should be parents. The other half of the school site should include the principal or other staff and teachers who comprise the majority of the school staff section. This is so you have representation from every stakeholder in your community, and so they can give input into what should be spent and how it should be spent. So there are 8 requirements. These 8 requirements include that the school site council must develop and approve the SPSA. So that means that the principal would come with information, share it with all of the constituents, and they would finalize it together. The SPSA must be developed with review, certification, and advice of any applicable school advisory committees, such as ELAC. So the English Language Advisory Committee should also be advised about how to spend the money, because if you have a high percentage of English learner population, they should have the opportunity to voice their opinions as well. So as you see, there are different components to the SPSA. You consolidate all your plans funded into the SPSA. So any type of funding that you receive, whether it's federal, whether it is state, needs to be consolidated into the SPSA. The SPSA content must be aligned with school achievement goals and district LCAP. This is not in isolation. This work and this plan is not in isolation. It should be aligned with the district LCAP and, of course, with the school achievement goals. And the goals must be based on verifiable state data, such as the CASP. So once the CASP data comes out, then at that time, it does need to be aligned. So if you see that you need area of work in math, then the funding can be spent on math for that year. Same thing for English learners. If there's an extra support and need for English learners, that's where the funding should be towards for that year. The SPSA must address how funds will be used to improve academic performance. Like I stated, that's why we need those CASP results to see where are those areas of gap and how do we improve the academic performance. The SPSA must be reviewed annually and updated by the SSC. The SPSA can be amended at any time. So it does need to be updated annually and brought to the board annually, and that is on number 8. It does need to be amended if needed. It can be amended, but the committee does need to be reunited again. The school site council needs to come back together, review it, and decide how it needs to be amended. And then the final process is that it's approved by our Board of Education, as well as it goes to the state level, the California State Board of Education. So the budget process, it should always start with data. So at your school site, you should be looking at data. What is our area of need? So you assess your needs. Then you identify the strategies to see what we would actually need in order to improve. Then you develop the plan, you submit the plan, implement the program and the plan, and then you evaluate the impact. It's a constant cycle that you need to have in order to show progress. And this is the type of data that you need in order to build your school plan. What funding is included in an SPSA budget? So what type of funding? We include Title I funding if 40% or more free or reduced. Some schools do not get title funding, some do. You get your local control funding formula site allocation. That is depending on the school district. Every school district decides how to allocate that for each school site, and your own specific site control. Same thing, that is allocated by the district. Every district decides how much funding each school will get. The SPS site programs, I discussed a little in the prior slide, but Title I, it's restricted supplemental support for schools identified as low income to improve student achievement, minimum of 40% free or reduced. You cannot carry it over. It should be spent this year on the children of this year. It is very restricted. You can't just decide you're going to spend it on certain things. It is above and beyond what you have in your budget. It's above and beyond so that the children receive that above and beyond extra support. Then you have the LCFF allocation. This is targeted funding provided to improve instructional programs from unduplicated students, defined as limited English proficient, foster youth, and free or reduced price meals. This should be completely aligned with your district goals as well. So they usually give you guidance on how you get that allocation and how you should spend it. And then our site control, it's unrestricted district site funds. District decides how much you get. It's usually unrestricted, so you can use it in many ways. School supplies, you can use it on extra people that you may need on your campuses. There's just many ways that it keeps your schools running. Your school budget decisions. So how do you make these decisions? So you develop the school budget around your LCAP goals. Prior your carryovers, budget staffing, and contracts. You align it with your SPSA goals with spending decisions. There's a lot of compliance issues, though, as you probably are aware of, because they're only allowable expenditures, or some for Title I, there's a restriction on what you can spend. Supplemental services as well, there are restrictions on it, and always it has to be direct services to students. That is our primary goal here of how we spend our money. School site funding to changes, Title I eligibility or other one-time funding, that can change throughout the year. It is not the same amount every single year because it really depends on the population that we serve and the percentage of Title I students at your school site. So some examples of how there's district funded school staff. So here's some example, because at times we can think that the employees at our school site are funded by our school plan. Not always. So for example, the principal is paid by the district. That does not come out of your school plan. Now, of course, if you are a charter, one school charter, then at that time, it is run very different. And your whole budget is included with the principal, associate principal, teachers, clerical, all of that. But if you are a school site in a district that has many schools, then usually the principal is paid by the district. The associate principal is based on enrollment. So if you do have an associate principal, it would really depend on enrollment, on the need of your school. And your TK through 12 regular education teachers are paid by the district. And clerical is based on enrollment. So those are just some examples of what the district would pay for. Some examples of what the district may not pay for would be if you are hiring an intervention teacher. So you may need an intervention teacher that is not provided by your district. You can use your school funds and your allocations to provide for that, encompassing all of their costs. If you need if your district provides you safety supervisors for lunch and recess, but you feel like you need an extra one, then at that point, that would be your site funds that would be voted upon during your school site council allocation time of reviewing your school site plan for student achievement. So some budget reminders is student-based decisions, of course. They're always student-based decisions, one-time money, one-time expenditures, and you want to create sustainable programs. So overall, that is the school site budget and how you create it. You are going to have the opportunity to work on an actual school site budget that is related to your school site, and you'll have the opportunity to make some hypothetical decisions of how you would spend it, some money, where you would spend it, and your needs. There is a short little clip in Module 1 with the assignment instructions, but now you have a good overview of the school site budget.